In your mid-70s, what convinced you to try this new sport?
Well, I don't think it ever dawned on me not to. I don't pay any attention to my age. If there are things I want to do, then I just go.
Hi, welcome to Pickle Me This, the podcast where the everyday pickleball player comes to laugh, relate, and feel part of the larger pickleball community. Everyone has a story. Welcome to episode 3 of Pickle Me This, where we stir up stories from the pickleball courts. I'm your host, Deirdre, and today we're sharing a story that proves it's never really too late to fall in love with pickleball. Meet Gaynell, who at the age of 77 stepped onto a pickleball court for the first time. I know. Now, 3 years later, and celebrating her 80th birthday, she's not just playing, she's thriving. And her story challenges everything we think about age and new beginnings. Today, we'll explore her friendships she's formed across generations and soak up some wisdom about keeping life exciting at any age. So join us. Okay, so let's kick things off. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I think a good question to start off with is, what was going on in your life when you first heard about pickleball and you first started playing pickleball?
Good question, Deirdre. I can't remember that there was anything really unusual going on. Just normal day to day, not any real ups and downs. I'm very fortunate in that I really do have a very blessed life. But I had heard about pickleball from a friend of mine, Mary, who lives in Detroit, and she said they played all year round. She and her husband played even in the wintertime, which I thought was rather interesting, but I do not play outdoors in the wintertime. But Mary tried to explain it to me. How it was this paddle instead of like it was like tennis, but it wasn't like tennis. And this pickle and this paddle and all of this, and it never made sense. So about 3 years after that, I started going to a new church. And the first girl that met me, Mary Lou's one of those that she's always into something. You know, we've got those friends into dancing and into going out to eat, and they know everybody. But she mentioned pickleball. And I just right away asked if she would teach me. And she agreed, which is she's probably regretted to this day, but that's beside the point. So she met me at Dick's Sporting Goods. We bought my paddle. She then invited me to play Saturday, which she was playing in Apex. And not even thinking twice, I went out, joined her out there, only to find out later these were some really good players. But they were quite nice. They were very generous. And as you know, pickleball is so social anyhow. So I began to meet a lot of people there, played in Apex for a little while, gained some experience, and then heard about a meetup that was at North Hills. So I think that's where it really started, just beginning with a new group of people, some beginners, getting some lessons in. It was shortly after that, I think I met you and then a group of gals. So it has just taken off from there. So that's the beginning.
So you started playing in your mid-70s, pickleball, right? And
Yes.
I really wanted to have you on today because mid-70s and playing pickleball, and recently, if you don't mind, you turned 80.
Yes.
People cannot believe you're 80 when you're on the courts.
Neither can I sometimes. So this.
In your mid-70s, what convinced you to try this new sport?
Well, I don't think it ever dawned on me not to. I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't pay any attention to my age. If there are things I want to do, then I just go, within reason. You know, I still want to skydive, but I'm not sure the family is going to allow me to do that. But within reason. And I see no reason not to. Age should not be a deterrent at all.
I love that, Gaynell.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first day on the court, or maybe your first days on the court? Any specific memories that stand out for you?
No, I don't think so. I think it's probably, I have a tennis background. And so that's so different because you make arrangements with your partner. You go to the court, you play, then you leave. And I think my biggest realization was the community and just the camaraderie. The laughter is phenomenal. You never laugh on the tennis court. And so just the laughter and the joking around. And like you said, 80, but all of my friends are much younger, but it doesn't seem to matter to any of them. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
If they have a problem, that's their fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good attitude. Is there any adversity that you have faced in your life that, or in your past, that you feel has helped you on the court?
I don't look at adversities in my past.
Yep.
I never even think about them as adversities. Whatever it might be, you learn from each one of them.
Yep.
And you just move forward, and you just know that the next day is going to be better, and you just make sure that the choices you make and the people you associate yourself with are those that you want that are good, positive, caring people.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about the early days, and it kind of reminds me that so many players have unexpected discoveries when they start playing pickleball. What was your biggest surprise about pickleball when you've been playing?
The camaraderie. And a perfect example, there were 6 of us, you being included, that decided we were going to take a girls' pickleball trip to New York. And we didn't know each other. Some of us had only known each other several months, but that didn't matter. All of a sudden, it was like, okay, we're going. Give me a credit card. Let me book this flight for you, and we're out of here. And it was a huge, huge turning point because it was so fun. It was so different. 6 entirely different backgrounds, age groups. But it was one of those things, you had that one thing in common, pickleball, but it brought together gals that actually were so supportive and so caring and meshed in such a fun way that it was, to me, it has been one of the highlights of my pickleball career as it is.
Me too. So we got an Airbnb house on the lake. It was beautiful. It was a house with, 4 bedrooms because a couple of us shared. A couple had their own.
At least 4, yeah. 6
women, 2 bathrooms.
1 kitchen and many dance parties.
I was just going to say, one of my all-time favorite memories will always be you and I dancing in the kitchen to Wagon Wheel and singing it.
Love it. Think about that even now. If it comes on, we still have to dance no matter where we are.
I know. It's so funny. I think somebody started taking a video of us or something. Really cute. What's been the most challenging part of learning pickleball, and how did you overcome it?
I think I'm still working on it. The most challenging is going to be because of age. I'm not as quick as the younger players. And so if you don't have fast hands or quite as quick at some of the shots.
It could be a faster game for sure at the kitchen line. Yeah.
Then you have to compensate for that some way. And so then what I've learned is I need to become much better at placement and become much better at finessing. But it's the placement and also being very aware of where I am on the court and anticipation. So all of these things are, we all deal with it no matter what age, but I think it's just a little bit more important because I don't have quite the speed as a younger player.
Yeah. And I feel like, honestly, Gaynell, there's a lot of younger players that don't have the speed either. So I think some people just don't have it, regardless of age. I think for me, for the most challenging, it's kind of a funny one. It's less about playing the sport and more about keeping score. Honestly, in the very beginning, it took me 6, 8 different times, and that's multiple games each time, to learn the scoring system. Like you, I used to play tennis, right? 15, 30. I don't know, it was easier.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this start thing? What is these 3 numbers thing? And then I would just lose track all the time.
Yeah.
But then ever since then, I've become the person who always knows the score. Like a lot of times people are like, wait, where are we? What's the score? And I'm always the first one. 4-10, 4-10-2. And it's totally ironic because I was the complete opposite in the very beginning. I could not. It took me such a long time, and I really don't understand why it took me so long to figure it out. But I finally got there. Can you share your aha moment for when you knew you were hooked on the game? Like you knew you were going to keep coming back all the time.
I think, again, it has to do with the people. Younger guys began calling me Miss G because they couldn't remember my name is Gaynell. So they, Miss G. But also, they'd come up and give you a hug. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just, very innocent, but it's just the friendships, and whether they're for, that day and the games that you're playing, or whether it's long lasting, it doesn't matter. It's that those particular times. And I think that's what I like so about it. Also, I say an older, but as a single person too, I'm not around but so many people, and especially I'm not around people my age very much because they're not very interesting. So sorry, but so you choose not to be around them. So when you realize that you need that socialization, you want it. I mean, we're humans and we need that. Mm-hmm. So pickleball has offered that, whether it is, one evening playing at North Hills, or like we're playing Saturday morning out at Garner. It's just that laughter and the friendship, and sometimes we bring food as you bring your bread out, or whatever. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be. You don't look at it. I don't look at it as being, I'll be friends with these people for 15 years. I mean, which is great, but just enjoy the moment that you're having.
Yeah, I really love that too. I feel like we all have our friendship groups, right? For sure, that we're all connect with on the courts. And I think it's more than just playing the game. It's definitely those times while you're waiting. You have your paddle up waiting for your next game where you can catch up with people. But then it's also just other people who might not be good friends, but like you said, they just come up to you and give you a hug and say, "How are you? I haven't seen you in like a month. What have you been up to?" It's really cool. I'm glad you brought up the age differences because I want to talk about breaking age barriers next. How has playing pickleball changed how you think about what's possible at any age, like more than just pickleball?
I never think about it until one of you all mention it. And I don't mean that.
We keep bringing
I don't
it up.
mean it as a negative, by any means, at all. So, but I think when you all threw me a birthday party and you all were so generous to go around and to tell me a couple of things that you all thought about me. And one person mentioned the fact that you all were younger, but it gave the younger gals a lot of confidence that they could move forward and continue playing pickleball, or continue with choosing the things they wanted to do in their lives from where they are now and as they age. And I think as women, sometimes we are fearful of the future. Mm-hmm. And what will that look like? And will I continue to be active? Will I continue to have friends? Am I going to sit on a rocking chair? And the answer to that is no. But it's a concern. So that was an important thing for me also, when you realize that without knowing it, you are an encouragement to other women to be able to get out there and to do exactly what you want to do. There's no reason I wanted to take up line dancing. And then these are things, well, why not?
Why not? Yes. Yeah. And you are an inspiration for us to look forward to when we get to that age, for sure. I'm curious, what do your friends who don't play pickleball say when you tell them about this passion of yours?
They kind of look at you rather wide-eyed.
Did they tell you you're crazy or anything? Or like, be careful? Or
I think at the beginning, maybe a couple did, but no, they don't. They know it doesn't make any difference. And, if my friends know me, they probably think it's not so unusual that I'm doing something like that. So,
oh, that's great. I'm glad you have supportive friends, because sometimes
yeah,
people can be worried, right?
not
Have
at
you
all.
inspired any of your peers to try the game?
I have, whether they've done it's another thing. And so I leave it alone. It's up to each person as to what they want to do, how they want to spend their time. And so I just kind of leave that alone. I'm still trying to encourage my daughter to play. And so we have an annual cruise coming up in March, and she has signed up for a pickleball lesson on the cruise. So
Oh,
that part is good. So I'm
nice.
excited about that. And then I've given paddles to every member of the family. I don't think they've worn them out yet, but they definitely have them. So it's just, I continue to promote it.
Even myself, I've brought my own kids out there to play a few times, but it's not really stuck
Yeah.
for any of them
So,
like me. And I'm like, oh, I wish at some point it will. Maybe someday. Maybe someday.
yeah. Or they'll pick up something else that
True.
they really, really enjoy doing, which is fine. I think that's what we want. It's just
Yes.
something that's going to feed you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whatever like brings you joy. And there's lots of other ways I bond with my kids, so that's okay. So more on the age wisdom, if you will. What advice to someone younger, like myself or even younger, about what it's going to be like playing at that age?
Uh-huh. I don't know that there are. Continue to work to better yourself each time, but also just to enjoy it. Whether you want to do rec play all the time, or whether you want to really be a strong player and play in tournaments, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you end up in the 8th place out of 8 teams in the tournament, so what? You
So
did
what?
it and you enjoyed it and you met all those new people when you were playing. But also, if you reach a time that it's over, then let it be. Let it be over, and you'll move on to something else that is going to be challenging. It's going to be right for you at that particular time in your life.
Mm-hmm. I like how you
Yeah.
said that too, because it doesn't, playing a sport doesn't always have to be about winning. There's so
Mm-mm.
many other aspects of it. And like you said, so what if you come in 8th place out of 8 teams?
Yeah.
As long as you had fun that day, maybe you feel like you learned a little bit more about the sport or how to get better, or maybe even if you didn't, as long as you had fun, that's all that really, really matters.
Exactly.
And meet more new people and build more relationships or stronger relationships. That's in life, like that's what people are going to remember.
Well, when people are around us when we are playing and there's so much laughter, I'm sure they think that we're probably a little wacko, but
Mm-hmm.
but it is. I mean, you're complimenting each other, you're laughing at some of the shots, you're making jokes as you go along, and to me, that's part of it because what you're doing is we're building relationships, strong relationships each time we do that. So
Yeah. So that's a great transition into multi-generational play that I want to talk about. One of my memories that come to mind pretty often is that one evening that you, Irina, myself, and Grayson were playing on the court. Grayson, the baseball player.
yes. Oh, was he adorable or what? Yes, so nice. So nice.
So nice. He
Yes.
insisted, he's like in his 20s.
Yes.
Irina and myself are in our 50s. And then there's Gaynell for everybody who's listening. And he was just the kindest soul.
Ugh.
Very good at the game. He didn't
Yes.
have to play with us. He could have. A lot of times in pickleball, people will play one game graciously with people and move on. He actually played a few games in a row. And I think it was exactly why you just mentioned. It was because we were laughing and having so much fun. He insisted on playing with you and against me and Irina. We were just like laughing and having a great time. He was so encouraging. I think he kept calling you Miss Gaynell. What a
I
fun
think
night.
so.
What a fun night.
That was so, I know, isn't it fun that you can remember some of those?
So in terms of like multi-generational, how do you think it differs when there's such an age difference? Or maybe there is no difference.
See, I don't see that there is a difference. When we go out to eat, you all always are updating me on the current places to go. I think the only thing that maybe sometimes is the language, in that the younger generation has a little more freedom with word usage than me or my older generation is quite comfortable with. But, that's no big deal either. I just don't really think about it.
That's okay. That's
no,
good.
No, I don't. And I mean, I don't think you all have ever done that. You've never treated me as being other than just part of the group.
I don't think so either, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really factor it into my relationships. I feel like that's what I love about pickleball, is that it's so welcoming. No matter, there's lots of conversations happening on the court between a 20-year-old and yourself, right? And everything in between. And that's great. It actually brings the different generations together. So
totally.
What do you think makes pickleball so unique in bringing those different generations together than anywhere else? You don't really see that happening, like all people of different generations hanging out together.
Well, I don't know what other sport is going to offer that. Mm-hmm. I mean, tennis is very similar, but it does not have the social aspect to it. It's not while you're on the court, and it does not have the downtime that you are hanging out with people and talking while you're waiting to get back on the court to play. But if we look at other sports, I just don't think it's there. I mean, you've got your team sports and you're tight with your team.
Yeah, you don't really get a chance to talk to other people that much.
You don't.
Outside of your team. Like you're in your team. No, for sure. I feel like in pickleball, you never know who's going to be at the courts any given day. You can walk in and see all your close-knit friends, and you might, especially on the community rec courts that I'm talking about, and you might walk in and it'd be completely different people, and that's okay too, because you just start conversations with different people on the court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other option too is if you in a foursome and there's someone in there that is being rude, or they are, which is rare, but if that's the case, it's one game. Then and so you don't play with that person again going forward. So it's not as if you are there for 3 hours and you have to tolerate or feel like that this is the worst day of my life, at least that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, then you move on. You just move on from there.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about a time where you started a conversation, you or the other person started a conversation on the court, and you had this, I don't know, this great conversation or revelation, or led to something else.
Do you know, I can talk to a tree. I mean, I really enjoy just chatting with people. So the thing I've enjoyed is being able to, you see people there and they are much better. So I'm thinking of Patty. And so they're much better, stronger players. But you can go up and just start a conversation and get to know them. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, you're good friends. And then you're out playing, no matter that they are so much better than you, you're in a social environment playing then. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like. I mean, then, recently we found out someone's mother had passed away. That was just happened to say that, not that that was a big deal. They just happened to say that, but it gave us an opportunity then to just come alongside that person and to care for them, just offer a little bit of solace for a short period of time. Or, some other fun things too. You hear that they are in certain businesses. And so that rings a bell. And so the next time you are in need of whatever, then you're thinking, dang, why don't I go ahead and call them or ask for that advice on this?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you remind me of over the summer, Dr. David, I think of, on the courts. So Dr. David, we found out, is an ER doctor. And I had played with him for months before I even knew what he did. And it was over the summer and bugs just love to bite me. Like I get mosquito bites all the time. And I had this bug bite on my arm, but it wasn't like healing. So I had it for a few weeks. It looked a little strange. And I'm the type of person who just try to see if it resolves on itself first. Not that I don't like to go to the doctor. I figure let's try to see if it resolves first before going somewhere. So I didn't even go to the courts that day looking for Dr. David to ask him a question. I just saw him, and for something in my mind was like, oh, I should ask Dr. David if I should go get this checked out.
Yeah.
So he comes over to the side of the court, and I was like, hey, Dr. David, I'm like, can I ask you a question? And you can totally tell me that you don't want to do this, because I didn't want to put him on the spot. And I said, can you look at this? I happen to have a tank top on that day. I was like, I think this is a bug bite, because I honestly don't even remember getting bit. I'm like, I think this is a bug bite, but it's weird. It's not healing. It's been like this. He asked me a couple of questions. I think he was something like, is it getting any worse? I'm like, no. Is it itchy? I'm like, in the very beginning it was, but it's not anymore. And then he just said, he goes, well, sometimes your skin gets irritated. It just takes a little longer than normal to heal. But he's like, if it doesn't get better in the next couple of weeks, like after, I think it was like a 2-month mark, then go to the doctor. And then without hesitation, he says to me, and that's $500, please. And I was like, and he's like, just kidding. And it was really funny. I love Dr. David. He's so sweet. He's there at the courts all the time. I think he might be retired, but I asked him, and I think he said he's still filling in for people, taking shifts, but not actively scheduled, if I remember. And I love how his son comes and plays now with him too. That story just came to my mind.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. So for our listeners who might be thinking, I'm too old. It doesn't even matter what age, right? I'm too old to start something new like this. What wisdom would you share with them?
Sometimes the feeling is not, they use age as an excuse of not wanting to put forth the effort, a little fearful of starting something new, not knowing where to go and what to do. So I think sometimes it's not wanting to get out of the comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And my advice is to just do it. Just take the step and do it. Call somebody that you know that plays pickleball, at whatever level, it does not matter, and just ask them if they'll go help you buy a paddle, and then ask advice as to where would you suggest I start. There are so many pickleball lessons. Sometimes that's the easiest. If they get into a couple of lessons, I think it just builds you up so that you feel like that you are able to at least not be booed off the courts if you go.
And that doesn't happen very often. All fairness.
Not at all. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it happen. Most of the time they're just clapping for you.
Yeah, people are afraid. They don't want to be embarrassed, right? They don't want to be embarrassed that they don't know what they're doing or they're not good enough. But I'm like you, just go out and do it. People want to help others. They want to help you get started because you know what? We've all been a beginner at some point, and we've had other people be really gracious with their time. So I agree with you. I love it. So let's wrap it up with this last question. If you could sum up your pickleball journey in one word, what would it be?
Probably just excitement. Just excitement.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Just because I get excited when I go out, whether it's when you first step on the court, but mostly it's when you get out of your car and you start going down, you hear all the paddles going and hear all the balls being hit back and forth and you hear the chatter. Then you begin to get excited about that. And also it's just that that excitement, once you have that, then it just removes any stress or removes any tension you may have had during the day, or the lack of camaraderie that you may have had, a lack of socialization throughout the day. So it's like, from that, your tank is full by the time you finish, whether you've won or lost. I mean, you come off the court and somebody asks you, how did you do? And it's like, well, fine. Did you win? Well, I don't know. But I mean, we had a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you're almost like, does it matter? Does it matter?
Exactly. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, the question really should be not about how did you do and how did you play? Did you have fun today playing? That maybe should be the new question as people wrap up for the day.
Well, we know it's always a yes.
Well, thanks for coming on, Gaynell. It was good.
My pleasure. Thank you, Deirdre.
All right.